Hi guys, it's Kelly Latevola here and I'm back with another video for Honeybee Stamps. Today we're using lots of birthday things. So I have the Wishes dies, the Dearly Loved stamp set, the Balloon Bunch dies, the rectangle masks, which I'm in love with, we'll talk about those, and then the Buffalo Plaid, but I'm really just using this one stripe out of it, the balloon numbers, the thin frames rectangles, and then the Wishes stamp set. Lots of stamps and dies. There's no coloring on this card. I know, you're dead. You can't even believe it. Me neither. Okay, so we're going to start with how I do my stencils. If you watched my video before, then you know that this is pretty much how I rock all of my stencils because I don't like taping them down. I don't like holding them in place. I just don't trust them. I use Embossing multi-glue and I put them on the backs of my stencils. Normally, I don't even bother smearing it around, which is what you see me doing here. But for this one, because I knew it was going to lay on top of another stencil, I wanted to make sure that all of the areas were sticky and it wasn't going to move on me. This is how I old school used to do my paper masks, because when Tombow Mono multi-glue dries, it is repositionable. So that way I didn't ever have to worry about anything moving, and I could peel it off and it wouldn't rip my paper and I didn't have to buy masking paper. Now I love multiple masking papers, but my go-to is Eclipse masking paper. Nonetheless, these are super handy. So they have, Honeybee has rectangles, ovals, squares, circles, and they're basically like pre-made masks. They're like the cat's pajamas, y'all. So I'm using the middle one, the rectangle, for this card because I didn't want all of it to be striped. I wanted like a portion of it to be striped. I'm going to cover up the edges with purple tape. This isn't really to hold the stencil in place. The repositionable glue is going to do that. It's more just to make sure that when I am putting the ink on, that I don't get it anywhere that I don't want it to be. So I'm going to go ahead and switch over now. This is my waffle flower, what is it? Multimedia, whatever it is. It's lovely and I use it all the time. So here I'm putting this other stencil on top of it. So I want just the stripes. This is my sister's birthday card. She is turning 40 this year. And I kind of will tell you during story time, kind of had a game plan, but they pretty much, my game plan picked my colors for me, which was pink, gold, and black. So I'm using black soot. This is traditional distress ink. You could use oxide. It's just going to be a softer finish, and I wanted something that was going to be a little bit more bold. So that is what I'm doing here, and this is going to create the base of my focal point for my card. Not really, I mean, just, swirling it on like you would do any other sort of ink. And then once this is done, I'm going to set it aside to dry. Or you could also heat set it before we do the next step with the background, not the next step in the video. The next step in the video is from that Balloon Bunches dies. Oh, and just heads up, I did, in case there's any stickiness left from the glue, sometimes that does happen. I just go in with an eraser, or you could use an adhesive eraser and then pick up any of the like glue that might be left on the card or stickiness that might be left on the card. You just want to make sure before you do this that your ink is dry, because you can smear it. So that's what I'm doing here. I don't know where my adhesive eraser went, and normally, honestly, that would be my go-to one, but I think my son ran off with it. Not really sure. I'm gonna have to do some investigating. For the balloon bunches, they have multiple balloon sizes, but they have two smaller ones. So I chose this one. I just felt like it would fit the card better. And I am using Picked Raspberry. Now this one is an oxide because I wanted it to be a softer finish. And I'm starting with Picked Raspberry, kind of blending that up in a gradient or an ombre up to the top so that it's lighter. And then I was trying to match my glitter paper, and this seemed to be a little too much on the purple side. I needed it to be more on the red side. So I did add some candied apple as well, and then just blended right over that. You'll see, like, when I ended up cutting out the 40 out of black cardstock, and I just wanted something that it was going to sit up off of. Here, this is the part that I was talking about. Make sure that you heat set your paper for, because distress ink is made to stay wet longer so that you can emboss with it. But this is the snow finger quotations, snow from Dearly Loved, and I'm going to use it as kind of like gold confetti on the top and the bottom of my card. I did stamp in gold ink. This is from Altenew. You could certainly leave it just the ink. It will, sit on top of it. It's just not as fun as a, true metallic embossing. So I decided to stamp in the gold ink and then turn around and use gold embossing powder. If you don't have gold ink, this will still totally work with like a regular Versamark or any other kind of embossing ink that you might own. So I'm just stamping those down, and just because this is another way to just add in a little bit of that gold accent that I was looking for. And then the embossing powder that I'm using is Hero Arts Gold. So I'm just going to dump that on. It wasn't perfect, I'm not going to lie. There are some spots where the gold embossing powder stuck where I didn't want it to. And I'm not sure if that's just because I didn't treat it well enough with my anti-static bag or what, but because it's already like a dot confetti, I was not worried about it. It didn't seem like anything that was going to be super noticeable. The only areas I really cleaned up was more toward the top where it's clearly getting less. And then I'm just going to dump this all right back in the container so I don't waste any of it, and then heat set it until it is smooth and shiny and metallic and beautiful. Like I said, this one is a really fast card for me. Like, you see, the video is much shorter than my usual ones, and it's just because there's no coloring. I could have opted to color the balloons, but I really wanted the gold metallic balloon as a way to bring in that accent color. So it just made more sense to use the dyes, and coloring dyes is faster with, Distress inks or Distress Oxides or whatever other kind of glue you're into. So here I kind of have my pieces parts cut out. Here's the gold balloon. I'm going to finish off my sentiment. My sentiment says Make a Wish, and I'm going to do some more heat embossing, this time in white. I certainly could have done it in gold, but I find that's very hard to photograph, honestly. So that is why I chose to just do it in white. That way my sentiment would be legible in all of my photos, and I don't think my sister's going to miss that little bit of gold. So obviously, we're in the middle of Corona 2020 here, and it's a bummer because my sister's got a milestone birthday. It's a bummer for any birthday, I'm be honest. But, she's turning 40, and like we can't even have a to-do for her. So I started looking into like yard decorations, like card my yard and things like that, just so she would have something. But everybody was totally booked, completely booked. And her birthday is 3 days before Peanut's birthday. So I was looking into it for both of them, and I couldn't find one on either date. So eventually I did find a lady who was in like 3 cities over, and she was like I can do them, but there's no delivery service. We're not going to come out and set it up and then take it down. You'll have to come get them, set them up, and take them down. Which, is I'm totally willing to do, even though, it's kind of a little bit crazy doing it yourself and trying to schedule things yourself, because they usually come like in the middle of the night. But it's better than, them having nothing. So when was it? Her birthday was on Tuesday, the 19th. And so on Monday, I left work. Oh, back to the card real quick. So here I have 2 different glitter papers no, not that yet. The Wish. So the Wish I mounted on, no, I am back to this. See, I don't even know what's happening in my life anymore. So I cut the thin frames, which I love, out of pink and out of black glitter paper. This is the candy pink, candy floss paper from Tonic. And I really love it as a glitter paper. But I liked the pink better than the black. I tried them both. And then I'm just going to stack up a bunch of white ones so that it stands a little bit higher and has a little bit more weight to it. And then the pink one will go on top. So anyway, Monday, I worked 6 a.m. to 2 p.m. I got off work at 2, came home because Eric and I told you before, ships passing in the night. So he left to go to work. I got Peanut into the car, and then we drove out to this woman's house in the rain to pick up these balloons. And I, as you guys know, just bought a new car, so thankfully there was room with the bigger trunk and bigger back seat. There was room for me to get all of these balloons in here, because I purchased how did it go? So I purchased 2 like balloon bouquets that had like flamingos with little crowns on them, because my sister's a total princess. And then they also had black, gold, and white like happy 40th birthday balloons. And then the latex balloons that were with it were all pink, gold, and black. So that's how I got my color scheme here for my card. So I bought 2 of those, and then I bought one like balloon bunch that tied on to like the light post, and then I bought what they call columns. So there's 3 layers of latex balloons on like a weighted base, and then 2 huge gold 40s that were literally as tall as Nathan, and so they're like 3 feet tall, and then to decorate her yard with. Now, she did have like one happy birthday sign you could rent that was multicolored. And so I would have had, because they don't normally, they're the ones, you know, putting things up and taking them down. So they don't normally let people rent them. So they're doing $50 rentals and then $50 deposit. And so I went and looked online to see if I could find something. I did find some 40-year-old ones for like $20 cheaper, and then I would just own them. I mean, I'm sure we'll know people who turn 40 for the rest of our lives. So I figured it's fine, I'll just buy them. And then they were in the same color scheme. So originally the game plan was for me and my sister Michelle to go at like 4 a.m. and decorate her yard so that she would wake up to it. And that was the only time I could go, because I had to be at work at 6 a.m. And then, well, the more we talked about it or whatever, like I realized I wouldn't get to see her for her birthday. And I would rather see her, even if it was from, 6 feet away. So then we decided that we would go out there after I got off of work. So I picked the balloons up on Monday. Then Tuesday, when I got home from work, came home, my sister Michelle met us at my house, loaded up the balloons. Eric, Peanut, myself, my mom drove herself, and then her husband actually sent her to the store for more frosting, because he was making her birthday cake. So he sent her out to go do that. We swooped in once we got the okay, set up all the stuff in the yard. It was windy, y'all. It was so windy. So we ended up having to tie her, even though they had weights, tie her balloon bouquets to some of the like metal signs she had in her yard, like little planters and things, so that they would stay up. We also ended up having to zip tie the big 40 numbers to the weighted bases so that they would stay up, because it was so windy. But thankfully, Jesus did us a solid, and it stopped raining, because it had been raining here like on and off for probably like a week and a half now. Mother Nature got confused about what month is what month. Probably like all the rest of us, because of coronavirus, are confused about what day is what day. And we've been getting tons of rain. We got snow in April. We're getting rain in May. Hopefully flowers in June, right? Here's hoping. So anyway, we went over there, set all of our stuff up. And then she came home from the store and was all surprised. And then we got to see her. We are hoping that as things progress and states open up more and we're, closer to a vaccine or antibody testing or whatever it is that they're going to end up doing, that we will be able to have a legit party for her turning 40, because this year her husband also turns 50. So here with the card, I'm putting all my things in place. I did pop up my balloons on some foam tape, and now I'm adding in the strings. Some of them are a little longer than what I needed. I just trimmed them off to the appropriate length so that they weren't hanging off the card. And then these cute little bows also come in the I think there's some in the balloon bunches, but the ones I used were the ones from the numbers, just because I already had them out. And then just cut those out. I was a little worried that it would look a little busy with all of these strings. But I think ultimately it ended up being okay, and the balloons are still the focal point. It's super hard to capture because the balloon is metallic, that there is any sort of contrast between the 40 and the black glitter and the gold balloon. But when it's in the light, like obviously the gold is a true gold and it's much shinier and it's so much easier to read it. I realize that that's maybe not as easily visible in the video because there isn't light shining directly on that gold balloon. So there's that. Maybe check out the pictures. I don't know if they came out any better, I'll be honest. But so what I forgot to mention with this weekend going on is that Honeybee's actually having a 15% off sale, which includes their newest release. So, and their, I believe, and their clearance products. So, like, everything on here is 15% off. And then there's a ton of people having Memorial Day sales. So I'll also leave the link to my sale page, which I do update periodically if you're looking to go shopping. I have a very hard time making my sale page because while I was making my sale page, I was also like trying not to shop all of the things. I did allow myself a little bit of a splurge to buy the new Distress ink color. I bought it in the ink and the oxide, the speckled egg. It's like a beautiful pale teal color. Totally need that in my life. Eric probably won't agree, but I know that I need it in my life. So yeah, in other news, I know I left you with a hair cliffhanger. I will tell you that story, but that story is too long for this video, not to mention I'm literally making my sister's birthday card, so it makes the most sense to tell you that story while I'm making that card. But yeah, so things have been good, been busy. May is a busy birthday month for us with Kim's birthday, and then Peanut's birthday is, like I said, just a couple of days later. So we did have kind of a thing for both of them as much as you can with the social distancing. Nathan's party will be, again, another video because I have to hoard up my stories. I have to hoard them all up to make sure that I have things to talk about because life isn't always super interesting for me. Especially when you're, like right now, we're just going to work and coming home, going to work and coming home. Like, we're not doing anything else. If I have to go to the store, it's a very short trip, with my mask on and all that. But yeah, so that's that. I am super excited, even though there's no coloring on this card. I think that it's a good fit for kind of the theme that we had going on with her birthday, the colors and things. And I love backing these, like they include the shadow pieces with the dies for their word dies, because I love backing them on vellum because then you can still see through it. It doesn't really distract away from the rest of the design, but it does make it so much easier to put your sentiment on your card. So that's it. You can see all the like the shimmer and the glossiness and the metallic and all that. And that's it. So thank you guys so much for joining me. I hope you'll head over and check out the sale, and I will catch you on the next video. Bye.